When I adopted a rescue dog in my last year of seminary, some 10 years ago, I had dreams of a dog who would be helpful in my ministry in a particular way. A companion in service. She'd be like a dog I'd heard about of a colleague in ministry. She'd come into the office, sleep in her crate under my desk. She would greet congregants gently, and maybe even become a certified therapy dog for people who came in to meet with me. That is not who I adopted, it turned out. Yeah. Luba is 42 pounds of solid muscle, elbows, and anxiety. All she wants to do is cuddle, which is how she won my heart on that sidewalk at the adoption event, curled up on the lap of the man from the dog rescue who had driven her up from somewhere in the middle of Missouri to New York City. The problem is that there are a lot of other parts of her day and things that we have to do besides cuddle all day. An early sign of trouble came when we walked. I don't remember if it was the first week or it's an early memory, walking past a city bus in Manhattan where we lived, and she went into full, scary, angry dog mode with the angry barks, and what I learned is the angry tail wag. Stiff, jumping at the end of her leash, and I was like, oh, okay. And I get it, because buses are loud and they're big, and she's from the country and she hadn't become a city dog yet, but it correctly signaled her posture to the unfamiliar. I don't know exactly, but I infer that her early life socialization was such that she is reactive and aggressive with other dogs and some stranger humans, especially if they're doing terrible things like wearing hats or doing something horrible like delivering the mail. And I won't go into all of the details because dog trauma is a thing and that's real and you don't need that in your evening, but suffice it to say that I've had to face the reality that this cuddly presence curled up napping with me on the bed as we were about 4 hours ago, she's also a strong animal who can do some real harm. I love her so much. And she's such a mess. So my dog's role in my ministry hasn't been what I imagined, but she has had a role as an important teacher. She's helped me to know more about, when someone is lashing out, they're lashing out from fear, they're lashing out from pain or from something else. It's easier to see that in a dog maybe than a person. But it's so clear that she's not aggressive because she wants to be. She doesn't like being aggressive either. She's aggressive because she's afraid or, because her nervous system is all out of whack for I don't know why. Everything seems like a threat to her. Oh, sweetie, I think to myself or say completely uselessly out loud, oh, sweetie, it's just a bus. It's just the mailman. He's existing. Yeah, that's just my partner closing the cabinet. You thought it was, no, okay. That's just a pile of leaves. Whole time it was a pile of leaves. Mostly what she's taught me is that it's possible, how much it's possible to love a being who is so deeply flawed. And it involves behavioral boundaries, right? So she doesn't get to interact with strange dogs anymore without some safety measures. That's a whole nother sermon about boundaries and keeping ourselves safe while, keeping ourselves safe from that being anyway. So it involves that. It also involves celebrating small wins, like last week she successfully exchanged sniffs with a Yorkie named Trixie. Yeah, so good, so proud of her. What a good girl. And you might take all of this sermon so far as an illustration about, caring for the difficult people in our lives. The ones who are lashing out at you. And I think that's true. It's a good thing to learn from our difficult dogs. And for me, the practice of loving someone so cuddly and so reactive also comes in handy for loving myself and for my own healing. As I believe I've shared with the sanctuary community, I have a history of depression, and last April was a really rough flare of that. We've had a hard time over the last over 2 years, and one clue that I was depressed was that I asked the church I served. I was asking a survey of how people were, and a lot of other folks were reporting really feeling more optimistic about things, and I was like, oh, I still feel like I'm at the bottom of the well. Okay. Fortunately, I'm now able to recognize that, and I know some things to do. But it's still hard. One of the common symptoms you may know of depression is feelings of worthlessness and guilt. Depression is mean. And for me, I think most of us have an inner critic. And for me, one of my depression symptoms is that inner critic feels like he gets a megaphone, metaphorically, or sits right on the shoulder all the time and is like, hey, why are you so terrible at everything? This email that you just opened, it's probably actually about how you're terrible and messing everything up. Oh, are you crying? What can you have to possibly feel sad about? There's people suffering more. Ugh. Depression is mean. It's mean. And it turns out that you can't snap yourself out of depression with self-criticism. Yeah, I tried it, and quite the opposite. So it turns out that self-criticism is bad for our physical health and our mental health, and you can read all about that. It's not effective at making us better at things, because if we're so afraid of self-criticism will turn into self-hatred, then we can't. The research is like we won't face the things the mistakes we make because it'll be too painful. So the turn is to self-compassion. And so for me, alongside medication and therapy, self-compassion has been really one of the things that has helped me recently. And I'm a religious professional, and I'm trying to teach myself and to help others to move more towards love and compassion. And everybody who's wise in our wisdom traditions is pretty clear that compassion for ourselves and compassion for other beings is completely related and reciprocal, right? So loving kindness meditations begin with extending that loving kindness to ourselves. So may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. And Buddhist teachers of compassion will sometimes talk about turning toward yourself like you're your own best friend. What would you say to your best friend who was struggling with this? Would you say, oh, why are you crying? No, you would say, oh, that's so hard. I'm sorry, you're feeling so bad. Or turning toward yourself like you would toward a child that you're caring for. Oh, they're there. And my favorite self-compassion image these days is imagining my imperfect and prickly and sad or angry self, loving that self like I love my beloved dog. Oh, sweetie, is the city bus out to get you? Yeah, let me hold you close. It's okay. I'm here. If I can love 42 pounds of anxiety and elbows and teeth, I can love myself, even at my worst. Oh, sweetie, is that mean email out to get you? Yeah, you just want cuddles, don't you? Let me hold you close. I'm here. There's something about self-compassion to me that is very universalist. The historic Christian universalists, right, believed passionately that everyone would go to heaven, that Christ saved everyone eventually, no matter what sins or mistakes they had made. And self-compassion as like that. The idea that no matter what we've done or felt or experienced, we are worthy of compassion. No matter what our reactive brain prompts us to do or feel or react to, we still deserve compassion and we will get it. No matter what rises out of our worst or most troubling selves, we are able to observe it clearly and treat it with compassion, with love. So when Reverend Teresa Ninan Soto says that our companion animals stretch our hearts, they are so right. Not just that our animals stretch our hearts to hold the animals themselves, but wider, with compassion for the rest of our beautiful, imperfect companions in our life journey, and of course for our own first companion, the one that is inside our own minds and hearts, right here.